Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together. Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever shot yourself in the foot? Have you ever opened your mouth and put your foot in it? Well, today we're doing my favorite topic, really, which is what were they thinking? And, it's one thing to shoot yourself in the foot privately and maybe be embarrassed in front of a couple of close friends who don't spread it around. It's another thing to do it in front of, let's say, 2.5 million subscribers to your YouTube channel. And that's exactly the event we're going to be covering today, a mistake that was made by an organization called Good Golf. And before I talk about that, I want to bring out my co-host on this, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
Hello, nice
Dr. Kerbeck.
Oh, hi, Mr.
Now, I know these are mistakes you have never made. I know you have never, ever, being the perfect person you are, I know you have never done anything dumb ever in your life.
Well, let's just say anytime I pick up a golf club, people say that's really stupid.
It's funny. I had to do a fair amount of research for this because, the couple of times I played golf, this is a golf story, by the way. So we're about to talk about a big mistake that was made recently by some big players I had no idea, 25 or 30 million people in just this country play golf. All over the world. It's much larger. And there are a lot of companies that sell products into that audience, into that community. And Callaway is probably one of the better known manufacturers of golf equipment. And Callaway got involved in this and they kind of open mouth, insert foot, didn't realize that they were doing it. And now they're apologizing left, right, and center. So, and I want to thank, by the way, before we get into the actual clips that we're going to show it. But before we get into those clips, I want to thank John Knotts, who years ago, he and I kind of sat down and talked about what were they thinking as a theme for a television show, for a series. And, John, he sent me a note the other day and said, hey, next time you think you want to do something like this, here, why don't you try this? And he sent me the clip for the ad we're going to run. And he was right. I want to thank John, I guess, really for kind of pointing us in this direction. So without any further ado, and having thanked John Knotts appropriately, thank you again, John.
Thank you, John.
I am ready to push play on the clip stream that we have for today's program.
All right.
Okay, hang on a second, because you might have missed this. You really need to watch the beginning.
I was going to say we don't have the beginning.
Yeah, hang on. Here we go.
Okay. Wow.
Do not touch my new driver.
Okay, that pretty much is the immediate shoot yourself in the foot. The rest of the ad is really an ad for a golf club. And yeah, we'll run the whole thing. But what you just witnessed was one of the founders of the company that sponsors this. They're called Good Golf. and his name is Garrett Clark. He was one of the founders of the company when it was created in 2020. Focused on promoting golf events, creating golf apparel. They've grown into a multi-million-dollar company, and in that process, they've formed relationships with very well-known manufacturers like Callaway, who now are actually working with Good Golf to get access to their audience to help promote their products. So let me go back to the beginning and guess in case people missed this. And by the way, the woman who's being pushed to the ground by Garrett Clark is Alexis Mistowski, who is one of the stars, golf players, actively playing on the circuit. Very good golfer, part of Good Golf. So we're looking at two people who work for Good Golf, or at least used to. I don't know what their status is now, but let's go back to the beginning of this because you don't want to miss the beginning.
Do not touch my new driver. How much the big deal? This is a driver. Johnny, no. No. Johnny, no. Don't do it. John. No. Don't do it. No, no, please, no, don't.
Are you okay?
It's over. He's gone.
What's happening?
It is the Callaway Quantum Driver. Dr. Jacalyn, what do you think of that commercial as we just played it out? What are your reactions to it?
Well, it seems violent. I hate to use that word, but shoving her to the ground and then coming back and admonishing her about a golf club. Listen, I know how important the driver is, and I know the drivers, if you're really good with it, can make a big difference. And I'm just kind of like, wow, I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want to be thinking if I went golfing, someone's going to shove me to the ground if I go to touch their Callaway driver.
I mean, there are so now you've got this company, Callaway, multi-billion-dollar company that creates the driver. I think sells for about $500. It's a pricey product, and like I said, 25 million Americans follow golf at some level, play the game. Several million of them watch Good Golf YouTube channel. So they've seen this commercial and they bought that driver. A lot of them have. And then there were reactions. The reactions to a man pushing a woman onto the ground at the beginning of this commercial. And a little later on, I'll explain their reasoning behind that, what they thought. I mean, not that it makes any difference. This is a huge mistake on their part, but there was some reasoning behind this on their part. And but what I want to play out now is a woman's reaction to this. By the way, this is a woman who is pretty broadly followed on YouTube herself, and she had some opinions about it. So let's play that out.
If you talk to any CEO about what scares them the most, they're going to reply, headline risk. Headline risk is what wakes CEOs up in the night. And a perfect example of headline risk is what we're seeing right now with Callaway Golf Clubs and the Good collaboration. This was a collaboration on a specific type of golf club known as a driver. And what happened was they put out this commercial, which was just tone deaf is not even the word. I mean, it is violence. It is a golfer pushing over a female who had reached for his driver. And he pushed her down really hard and pointed at her in her face and said, "Don't touch my driver." And it is a bad ad. It should not have been put out. It sends a terrible message that domestic violence is funny, violence on women is funny, femicide's funny. It's basically a green light for violence at home and elsewhere. The impact on Callaway and Good is yet to be seen. I just looked, and so far the stock prices haven't changed, but there are being returns made at stores. In fact, I know two young men who are golfers who survived atrocities themselves who are taking back a recent Callaway purchase. CEO had to apologize. They took down the driver from their website. People are calling on the PGA to pull good as any sort of sponsor of the PGA Tour. Like, it's a really big deal. From the C-suite standpoint, this is so completely avoidable. I mean, why collab on an ad with a company that takes this character? And if you have an ad that gets that far, you are either a company who really does hate women, and that's a real problem, or B, you have so few women working in your organization who could have screened, flagged something of this nature, or you don't listen to women within your organization. Because there is no scenario where this ad survives a woman's scrutiny. This is one of the reasons why we need more women in the workplace, is to keep harmful, destructive ads like this, ad statements, behaviors, stuff that looks really bad on paper to the general public, to our common sense of morality, from circulating under your brand. In my opinion, it's going to be hard for Callaway to overcome this massive headline risk, because there will not be a time when I think Callaway that I don't see that image of a golfer pushing down a female. That's not the look these days. That's not what you want to tell young men, golfers, anyone associated with the sport. I mean, look, women golf too.
Dr. Jacalyn, I'm wearing my Callaway shirt.
Oh. Good, brave soul you are.
That is probably about as close to a golf course as I get these days. And, I'm not a golfer, but I know a bunch. I mean, I have worked with, I socialize with an awful lot of people who spend a lot of time on a golf course. And, I think that was, by the way, that was Joe D. Neal, who is a pretty well-known YouTuber. Specializes in marketing. And that was a video that just one of many. I mean, anybody who wants to see how big the blast radius is from this mistake can do a search on YouTube for good golf, and you'll find dozens, maybe by now hundreds of posts made by people reacting to this really very badly conceived. I mean, bad golf. This is bad golf. I mean, it really is a bad idea. And the bad idea somehow got birthed. Nobody stopped it. Nobody at any point during the process of creating this message, nobody stood up and said, this is really not the kind of advertising we want to put out there. I mean, you can make a mistake and get a lot of eyeballs on the mistake. And if it's a good-natured mistake and it's just a mistake, you can actually improve your sales with that. But this is a mean-spirited depiction of an act of violence, man on woman. And it sends so many subliminal messages that just sour you to the idea of owning a Callaway club, that being the problem. That, as Jody mentioned in her video review, people are bringing their clubs back to where they bought them and saying they want their money back. They don't want this anymore. They don't want, and in fact, from what I understand, I'm not sure this is true, but I think Callaway has withdrawn that particular driver. But they sell all kinds of other clubs. They sell whole sets of clubs. They sell golf balls. They sell all kinds of stuff that has their logo on it. And every one of those things is something somebody might bring back today because they're so offended by the message in that ad. As a woman, how do you react to that? I mean, do you see the point of all this?
Oh, absolutely. I am completely dumbfounded that this ad got as far as it did, that it wasn't on the editing cutting room floor immediately, because the message across the board, it's not something that people would typically want to be aligned with. So to me, when you think about this show, what were they thinking? It's almost like, are they trying to create this animosity? You and I talk about this a lot. Mainstream media is really dividing and isolating people with their messages instead of bringing them together. And to me, that's what this does. I'm not an avid golfer. I'm a once in a while, but I certainly know the name Callaway. I think even in my corporate career, I think they're in Miami. If that's the company that's, there's a big golf company. But anyway, I called on them and I think to myself, who is it in the organization that saw this and that approved it? And also, you mentioned the woman who's in it. I don't know who she is, but obviously she must be pretty prominent. But why would she be in the ad? Why would she allow herself to be knocked to the ground and be spoken to that way? I don't know. So it's kind of like, yeah, we're not here. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, what were they thinking? Because that is not something that I am buying into. It's not something I want to watch. It's not something I would want to promote. And I'm just wondering how it got to be in the public domain and be sponsored by the executives.
You raised a really good point of the woman who was pushed to the ground. Her name, I had to do some research to dig this up because, I mean, it didn't have to do a lot. But this is not unfolding in any kind of a organized or planned way. It's all totally organic. So you do a little bit of research, you find out that the woman who allowed herself to be pushed to the ground, I mean, she had to cooperate on this. Her name is Alexis Mistowski, and she is a golfer, a lady golfer, and she works for Good. She's part of the Good channel. So, like you said, knowing how this might be received, she had to. Why wouldn't she say, "No, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to do that"? Now, there are apologies online for this, and I'm going to play one. That's going to be our last clip today. I'm going to play the official Callaway apology, which in itself is problematic, and we'll talk about that on the other end of it. But I looked around for Alexis Mistowski, and there are lots of YouTube videos of her giving golf lessons and golf tips and having fun playing golf. I mean, she seems like she's a very nice person and definitely knows her stuff. She's a golfer, good golfer, good. Oh my God. I mean, good, bad golfer, you know, and so she's waking up every morning with thousands of emails from all kinds of people saying, what were you thinking? And I'm sure this guy, Garrett Clark, is hearing from all kinds of, he probably has his phone turned off, you know, I'm sure by now. Garrett Clark, the guy who pushed her, is a founder of the company, Good Golf, a founder of the organization. And what they're going to do with these people beyond this event has yet to be disclosed. But somehow the organizations have to heal around this gigantic scar they've created for themselves.
Absolutely. And thank you for the research that you did. You're always so proficient. Two things that I want to say. The first is I thought when she was pushed to the ground and the camera before it pans away, I thought there was a slight smile on her face. I thought I saw that, but I could be wrong.
No, you're right. I mentioned this a little bit before we went on the air. I told you there is some background to this. There's a film out now called Obsession, which is very popular, particularly with young people. I mean, I've seen it, but most people my age have never even heard of it. And a lot of people my age play golf, which means nobody really can make this referential connection in their heads. And while it may be obvious to these children who made this ad, it's not obvious to most grown-ups at all. Obsession is about a kind of a toxic relationship between a man and a woman. And it's a very well constructed horror film. Basically, it's a scary movie. And it's worth watching. I mean, it's not necessarily my kind of movie. I wouldn't watch it twice, but it's a well constructed, very popular, has made a lot of money movie that obviously these children who made this ad now believe everybody must have seen. So in their heads, they figured everybody would immediately get the referential humor of using the mood and music, basically the whole style of the film Obsession, to make this ad. Their point being, I'm obsessed with my driver, with my golf club. That's supposed to be the point that we're trying to communicate. This is an obsession, and I love this driver. And, honestly, I've seen the movie and I didn't get the reference at all. I didn't even think, it didn't even occur to me. All I saw was a frat boy young guy pushing a woman to the ground, basically blindsiding her, pushing her down. There wasn't even a confrontation. He just knocked her down to get her away from his golf club. And if that isn't caveman behavior, I don't know what is. And, all the other messages in this about men and women and how men are superior to women, all the other implicit messages that come out of this are bad golf messages. Especially as Joe D pointed out, an awful lot of women play golf. A lot of women play golf. So what I want to do now is play out the last clip, and then we'll go to a break after that. I want to play out this last clip, and the last clip really is Callaway's apology And then, we'll talk a little bit. And then after the break, we'll come back and we'll talk about the apology and what's wrong with it. So here we go.
Last week, Good Good Golf and Callaway posted a video to promote a co-branded driver. While this video was produced by Good Good, now deflecting responsibility, it was approved by Callaway prior to posting. That approval should never have happened. Mistakes were made, and we're taking the matter very seriously. As we deal with the consequences of our mistake and complete our investigations, I want to make it clear that we sincerely apologize for the video. The content was inappropriate and does not reflect our values. We are unequivocally against discrimination, domestic violence, or threatening behavior in any kind. Here's where the wording gets really weird. As soon as we recognize the seriousness of the issue. All right, friends, like I said, me reading you the treatment, the idea behind the video is serious. Anybody who knows anything about marketing, freshmen in college in marketing classes right now would know that this is a terrible idea. I don't know what I would do if I was in this situation. Granted, I would not want to be nor be in this situation. I'm not sure what I would do, but I would not write the sentence as soon as we recognized the seriousness, because it takes away your understanding of what the video doesn't imply, what the video does. And man, it's bad.
I'm really confused because first I thought I was hearing an apology, and then I felt like I was hearing double talk, and then I don't even know what I was hearing. I don't know. I've never seen that before, and that's just my takeaway from it.
I know it's around this time. I know you have a clip you want to play during the break. So why don't we go ahead with that? I'll let you do, we'll go ahead with that. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about, not just about how you avoid making mistakes like this, but when you do, let's assume they're inevitable, and they aren't, but let's assume they're inevitable. How do you recover from them? What do you say? Do you gobbledygook your way through? I mean, is that the right way to respond to this? And so let's go to the break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll talk some more.
Okay. Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Good ad, Doc. I like it. And, now that we're back from the break and we're talking about this joint good, bad golf mistake that was made in conjunction with a huge player in the golf industry, Callaway. Before we talk about this mistake, I do want to talk about the consequences of, listen, I know enough about television to know that you set a target date, let's say April 31st, August 31st. You set a target date for when your campaign is going to come together and when you want to get the word out. You have in the back of your head that you want people who are making decisions about what gifts they're going to buy for Christmas, let's say, for example, to know what they need to know to buy your product as a gift for somebody. You want to get that out. So you've got December 25th at the end of the year, and you've got rolling back to 3 or 4 months in order to get the word out on a product that's now actually appearing in stores. You want to start creating demand now. That means when you create an ad, one of the things you've got going is you feel like you need to run this ad before August 31st. So there's a time pressure. And if it's the only ad you've got, I mean, if that's the only ad you've got, then the mindset you're in when you're reviewing an ad like that, even in the C-suite, is, well, we got to put something out. We got to get something out. And often that overrides oh my God, yeah, we have to put something out. But sometimes it's better to not put anything out than it is to put that thing out, that thing in particular. And they had plenty of opportunity to edit this, change this, alter. It's different from what you do, Doc. What you do is you take people with great ideas and spray them out into people's homes over the internet real time on live video streams. That's what you do, which means you've got to prepare for that. You've got to be ready for that. You've got to know what that product is going to look like before you produce it. You don't get oh my God, that's wrong, let's do it again. It's got to work on the first take, because the first take is all you've got. These guys have the luxury of an editor and pre-recorded content and lots of reviews. I mean, I'm sure a couple of times, a couple of people looked at this at least. And somehow, so there are really two things to talk about. Where does a stupid idea like this come from? And how does a stupid idea like this survive to the point where it actually appears in front of people?
Well, I have some ideas on it. So my first idea is, obviously in the United States, which is where we're talking about having a huge presence of golfers aside from the rest of the world. But in the US, the season is about to change, right? We're just maybe less than 30 days from fall coming. So the window of time for people golfing, all those people who are adamant and they're out there in the snow and the rain, but it's going to be, we got to get out on the course before the weather changes, is the first thing. The second thing is football season is coming up soon, right? There's a lot of people who, it's not mutually exclusive. They like to watch football and they golf, right? So what happens? Men get together. I'm not saying that women don't, but guys get together. And you and I had a conversation once about what it's like when guys get together and they might have a beer, they're having conversation. It's, from what I understand, it can be somewhat primitive and then expound from there.
Not very well thought out.
Right. And we're just generalizing. But so this type of ad may fit with those demographics. And maybe that's all they were thinking about. Maybe they were just thinking, we're just appealing to men. That's all we care about, is appealing to men. But the fact that she was in this and she allows herself to be pushed to the ground and she's kind of got this smile on her face, is almost like, oh, I like this. It's the wrong message to me. It is the wrong message as a woman. And so I don't know how it's going to impact her branding, but across the board, from what I see, it is a complete and total miss. And then if you're going to give an apology, don't start backpedaling and making excuses. It's just, listen, we made a mistake. It's a grave mistake, and we realize it. And as a result, we are bringing on new people. We're firing the people, whatever it is, something, and then stop talking.
Well, since you brought us back to that part of the conversation, how do you frame the apology? Now, I mean, everybody knows what corporate speak is. Anybody who's ever spent 15 minutes on LinkedIn knows what corporate speak is. Grateful for the opportunity, tremendously honored by, I'm humbled by. You've got crap words out there all the time in the world that are pre-written by some AI robot that is copying them basically from some lawyer, maybe, who said, the safe way to express an apology is to use this language. When you know somebody's saying they're sorry, you hear it. You hear, I'm sorry. When you get the apology expressed in very carefully selected terms, that actually try to push the blame away rather than accept it, then it doesn't feel like an apology anymore. It feels like part of the ill-conceived ad campaign. I feel like you're still trying to sell me a golf club. You're not saying you're sorry for this. You're still trying to push this product on me. And so I'm sorry, not sorry. That's what it sounds like.
You bring up a great point. And part of what I do in teaching people how to listen is when you have to set a boundary. So if I'm going to say I'm sorry to someone, and then I say, you know what, Al, I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings. But I just want you to know it's actually your fault because you pushed me to a level where I had to. No, now I'm making it about you instead of taking ownership. And so the apology is not an apology. It's a passive aggressive way of now telling you exactly what I think about you, but giving you an apology that has no meaning.
When is an apology not an apology?
Exactly.
And
So it
that,
seems
you
like
know,
it's
and
more
that is,
publicity.
yeah, well, you know, so now from what I understand, the club has been withdrawn from the market. They're not going to be, that all the other Callaway products are still out there, and people still need to make a choice about how they feel about that logo. You know, when I see that logo on a product, do I want to move on to the next aisle and get that product from somebody else? Maybe. I mean, it's hard. We did a show. One of the first show we did on Ahead for Business really was on the Bud Light shoot yourself in the foot disaster. One of the first shows we did.
Sure.
And you know, and going back to that, there are long-term, often stretching over months or even years, consequences to mistakes like this. What you want is for people to feel good about your product again. And the way you're going to get them to feel good about your product again is if they hear a sincere, I'm sorry. It should never have happened. It was a huge mistake. Maybe there is a little context you can offer, like we were under pressure to get the ad out because of these dates that we set for ourselves. But that's not an excuse. It's just an explanation. And no excuse justifies this terrible mistake that we made. Absolutely terrible mistake that we made. And you need to get out there and say, by the way, women are not props on a golf course. Women are players on a golf course, because a subliminal message of that whole ad campaign is that a woman on a golf course is really just somebody you can push over. If they're in your way, you can knock them out of the way. If you don't like, you know, it's crazy. I mean, a better way to play that ad would have been if she would have gone to the bag, pulled out a wedge, and clocked Garrett, what's his name, Garrett Clark, in the middle of the ad. I mean, you know, that wouldn't have made the story any better. But at least then it would have evened this field of play, you know, where a woman is clearly seen as submissive and inferior to a man in a clip that's only 10 seconds long. They couldn't have done a better job making that mistake than the way they did. And then to show him with that kind of shit-eating, for want of a better word, grin on his face after that. Now, I know they were parodying this film, but I don't get that reference. Most people won't get that reference. It's too much work. I'm sorry. It's too much work for me to figure out how to forgive you. You're going to have to come to me with something that really feels like an apology, not a written statement. I want to see the guy that runs Callaway. I want to see his or her face. Maybe it's a woman. I don't know. I want to see that person on this channel. And here's an open invitation. You want to say you're sorry? We'll give you 30 minutes. And then let us ask you questions like, how could this have happened? And how can organizations avoid this? What kind of a structure do you have for approving content, you know, partnership content like this before you stamp it with your seal of approval? What kind of a process do you create? And what people do you put in that process? And how much power do they have? Are they given the power to say, no, you can't do this, this is a mistake? Or do they just feel like they have to approve it? You know, and that ultimately the shareholders, Callaway's a publicly traded company, no idea what their stock value is now. Who knows? After our show today, maybe it'll go down 10 points. But shareholders need to know that that their investment in your company isn't at risk for some stupid decision that could be made. Yep, it's this is business to consumer. It's not business to business. It's very public. It's out there. It's in front of everybody. That's a horrifying mistake. And again, I want to thank John Knotts actually said, I mean, he's a coach, a business coach. And I asked him if he had time to appear today. It would have been great to have him. And we will. We'll get him on right now he's got a lot of stuff going on and was booked today. Otherwise, I think he would have joined us. But I want to thank John Knotts again for bringing this to our attention, because it's great content, I think, for this show. And thank you, John. And, you know, John did make the point in an email that he sent me that if it weren't for mistakes like this, he'd have no work as a business coach. This is kind of what he does. So congratulations, John. Here's more work for you. Let's see if we can't get you hooked in with the Callaway guys and
I
make you
do
part
have
of the process.
I do have another comment on that, which I think is also interesting, is that after we watch her being shoved to the ground, and then we see the little smile on her face, and then the camera pans away, we see all the people who witnessed it, and no one did anything. No one did anything. And then he's raging, and then he goes to tee off. I think that's the term. And people are like, no, no, no. But meanwhile, she apparently is still lying there, and no one even comes to assist her. I thought that was also interesting. And so it's almost like we watch and we support what you're doing, even though we're saying no, no, but we're not actually doing anything.
That is a great point. And, I hadn't, a lot of the feelings that you get when you watch a clip like that are subliminal. I mean, they don't necessarily surface as something you can articulate right away. But since you brought it up, I agree. It's a bunch of young white guys standing around while a young white woman is brutalized on a golf course and not doing anything about it.
Right.
Now, I know that's scripted and that's planned out, and everybody agreed to it up front. Everybody knew what their parts were, and they're all playing roles. I know that. I guess I know that, but it doesn't look like that. I mean, it looks like an impromptu. It looks like it could have been shot real time on an actual golf course with real people. And that, I think, is the gigantic mistake, a huge mistake. And made more huge by the way, by the fact that, especially these days with social media, there are people like you and I who will carry the story forward and talk about it. And people like Jody Neal and, as a lot of the people, the two clips we played, these people are out there making sure everybody hears about it. That's their job. It's not like it's going to go unnoticed. Everybody's going to hear about this before long. And it'll just get worse and worse. By the way, on one major news network, it was the number 2 story today. So it's not just us. There are major news networks that are actually carrying this as a business story, and it'll be on CNBC and Fox Business, and it's just going to be talked about. So I don't know. It was a fun topic, I think, for us, and thank you for the opportunity to bring it out. And so as always, it's great working with you.
And thank you to John Knotts, and thank you, Al, for all the research that you did. And I think something I just want to share before we close out is, you and I are of a certain generation, but people who are younger, they've grown up with technology. And so sometimes you'll see younger people sitting together. They're not even talking. They're just completely immersed in their technology. And so there may be people who think this is okay. It's not even about it being an ad. It's like, oh, it's okay. The next time I'm on the golf course or the next time I'm at home, I'm just going to shove whatever woman to get her out of my way because I'm obsessed with whatever it is. And I've never heard of this film. It doesn't sound like something that I personally would want to watch, but I can't judge because I don't know of it. But I feel like the magnitude is so much bigger than this was a scripted commercial for a driver. And it's basically saying we advocate domestic violence. We think that men are better, stronger, more important than women. And we'll just all stand around and watch this happen and think it's okay. And then as the woman, oh, you know what? I'm used to getting pushed around. I'll just smile because I'm so embarrassed. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I'm lying on the ground after I've just been shoved and no one even comes to assist me. Like, this is normal behavior.
All good points.
Thank you.
Definitely.
My heart's going bang, 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 bang.
So irritating.
Yes.
Anyway, I think it's an important tale to tell because this is, if it's even remotely inside your brain, I mean, if you have to work hard at not saying this is how you really feel about women, I mean, because really, if at the core of this, there's an inspiration that must feel good to somebody, I mean, so there is an authenticity and a truth to it, even if it's a bad message, that makes it feel sincerely expressed. And that sincere expression of aggression, male to female, everything about our society over the last 20 or 30 years has been about eliminating that and negatively reinforcing that. And to see young people bringing it back, for whatever reason, whatever their excuse might be, it is just a gigantic mistake.
Yeah. And I want to add something else onto that as a peace ambassador. The other message that I'm taking away, the longer I think about it, the more things I have. It's basically, this is my driver and I'm not going to share. And when you think about the world where we don't have peace, and it's kind of like, this is my stuff, this is my country, these are my resources, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, it's not yours, get out of my way. And then it basically is suggesting, let's promote conflict instead of finding a way to golf together, share a bag of clubs together, or, have a peaceful world together.
More than suggesting. I mean, it's out there saying this is okay, with, like, as you said, other people standing by not doing anything about it. So it's witnesses to an act of violence not intervening on top of the act of violence. Just a bad 30 seconds, just bad. And, I think it's going to be a while before they recover from this.
I would agree. Well, I want to thank you for having me on your show today.
Thank you. I appreciate having you.
I look forward to you closing it out and telling our audience how they can get in touch with you and the services that you and your team provide.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. And, I want to thank everybody for joining us for this episode of Ahead for Business. What were they thinking? This particular theme that we every now and then get an opportunity. Thank you, Callaway. Thank you, Good Golf. Get an opportunity to bring to you. And that's always fun. And, when I'm not doing this, I'm having fun in a different way. We have a solution that we call ProFit for Teams, which is a build, blend, bond team building solution, although I hate to use that phrase, team building. There are all kinds of questions you can ask to make your team stronger. For us, the most powerful question you can ask is, who are we? Who are we when we're doing our best work on our best day to keep all of our promises and achieve all of our goals? If somebody at Callaway had been asking that question before they watched that video, then the answer could not have been, we are people who can allow this mistake to go forward. That should have stopped it. If the reason why that question is so important for us is it's absolutely core to who we are, and it's core to the ProFit for Teams solution that we've created. So if you want to know more about that, please send me an email at al@pro-fit4teams.com or call me, 212-480-3730. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again next week for another Ahead for Business.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.